In the last couple of years, we've seen IOCs pivoting back to Africa, particularly Africa's frontiers. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen a shift in the world order that most couldn't have predicted. In the last couple of days, we've seen how important a diversification of portfolio can be. So if time allows, and I think it will, we're going to look at four mega themes in how risk perception might be changing, how relationships are important, how revenue split is critical, and how Africa offers repositioning opportunities to both large and small companies. So we have two of my favorite people, and I've been chatting to these guys for more than a decade now. We have Maggie Shino, the Petroleum Commissioner for Namibia, and we have Alcides, Executive Board Member of the ANPG in Angola. And I'm going to send my first question your way, Maggie. Namibia is perhaps one of the hottest exploration destinations in the world. But it hasn't always been like that, has it? I mean, there's been a long period of nothingness between really kudu and graph. Maggie, can you tell us how you've managed to keep interest going in Namibia and what the government can do to continue pulling explorers into Namibia?
Thank you very much, Justin, and good afternoon to you all. I think the example for Namibia has been one of the almost a classic textbook example of how persistence and consistency could be able to yield results for any country. Our journey has been quite long. As you clearly indicated, we started off in 1974 when we drilled the first well offshore Namibia, the Kudu, testing the Kudu prospect, just on an anticline. And lucky enough, that was a success.
And that was the first well, eh?
And it was the very first well in the country. So with that success, we kept it as a hope and a beacon that there gotta be more. Although the history of the country changed the landscape a little bit. Since the 1974 discovery, there has been intermittent. There has been no exploration in the country for a period of up until independence, and only when we got independence, then we really got back into the game and started again. So immediately after independence, we got our independence in 1990. We just celebrated our 36th anniversary a few days ago, so we are a very young democracy. And immediately after the independence, we enacted our Petroleum Exploration and Production Act, 1991, which is still the law that we are using till now. Immediately also after that, we also then established the National Oil Company, NAMCO, but we didn't just establish it just to be a spectator and maybe a regulator. We really have it as a company that had meaningful participation, with mandatory participation in all the licenses. And that with NAMCO being a player in all, the real game changer for us as a country is the open licensing regime. I mean, times...
So, Maggie, can you talk to us a little bit more about that? Because, in fact, what we've seen through almost a large swath of West Africa is companies entering via direct negotiation. I'll come across to you also on this, Alcides.
Yeah. So with the open licensing regime, it has served us as a country, because you know that the oil market is very cyclical. You know that disruption happens every time and at any time. And when the market dynamic shifts, companies need to be ready and to know when to go at their own pace and at their own time. That is what we have kept as a country, as Namibia, that they should be, any company, regardless of their size and their appetite, they should be able to knock on our door and find it open at any given time when they are ready. And with that, we then also managed to give predictability. As I said, we have had the law since 1990. It's still there. We have given very competitive physical terms and ranked as one of the best in the world. And we have been, as a government, have not just been a regulator, but we have been a partner to the joint venture. We not only sign on the petroleum agreement just for the sake of being a government, but it's an oath, it's an honor that we take as a country that we're going to take this journey with you. While that is being done, at the same time when the exploration is going on, we also make sure that we drive the data acquisition so that then you can have all the tools that you need for that exploration to happen. And it's all the combination of these elements that have therefore led to the success that we are seeing in the Orange Basin right now.
So Maggie, I'm going to jump across to Alcides, because Alcides, we saw and we've been witnessing recently a flood of interest back into Angola. Can you tell us what's the ANPG doing to really draw those guys in?
Well, thank you for having me, Justin. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's very nice to see the room full. It's a testament to the interest in Africa. Maggie, happy Independence Day, and to all everybody in Namibia.
Thank you.
Most of folks in this room are familiar with the Angola oil and gas history. We go back 100 years, initial exploration in 1900s, then discovery, and then started producing in the late 60s. Initial onshore, shallow water, and deep water in the early 2000s. We saw peak of production in the 2000s and 2008, where we produced almost 2 million barrels of oil per day. From then on, we had a stable producing period up to 2015, and then from 2016, we started seeing a decline in reserves, production, and also investment. So that, to react to that, we initiated in 2017 a series of reforms. First, to reorganize the oil and gas industry. There were a lot of good and things were well done in the past, but there were also some lessons learned for us to apply forward. So one of the things that we did was to separate the roles of concessionaire and regulator from Sonangol, which is the national company. There was a lot of confusion there. The idea there was to create an environment that would foster a business environment that could position us to be the place of choice for investment, coming from a regional standpoint, also from a global standpoint. And that resulted in creation of the Oil and Gas Biofuels Agency. As we were created, we defined this very strategic and ambitious plan, which was basically in three different aspects. One is agility. How is it that we could look around the world, learn from what's happening around us, identify reforms that could move the needle for investors out there to bring the capital in country. Second is flexibility. We understand we are in the business which is a long term, but visibility is very important, and also it's all about prospectivity and where the investor is going to have the highest return. So we focus on creating the necessary conditions for the investors to have a fast recovery of their investment as well as the favorable return. The third one is pragmatism. We understood that one of the best incentives that you could give to the investor community is to respond quickly to their needs, to their requests. And also, we understood that many of the processes that we had were taking too long. For instance, we had licensing rounds that was taking two years to complete. The other thing is, for any request, for approval requests out there that the investors sent to us, we were taking more than 6 months. So we needed to do something about it. So we created this environment where collaboration and proximity and everybody kind of just working together to find solution was very important. And now we are seeing the results of all of those reforms that were implemented. So in a nutshell, it was collaboration, understanding how the market works, and foster those conditions for companies to bring the capital in country.
I see this as, maybe this is you, both Maggie and you. From the award of an exploration license to first oil, ballpark, how long does that take?
Well, it depends on the risk profile of the project and the opportunity, but we put it in two different buckets. One is the below ground risk, and the other one is above ground risk. And over the last few years, what we have done with the partners, stakeholders, and investors out there is to, as opposed to tell them what we want, is to listen to what they need. You know, and if you separate those two buckets, below ground risk, I mean, those are perhaps you can do better seismic and geological studies, but those will be in your area of concerns, not influence. What you can have control of is on the above ground risk. So we have very much focused on the above ground risk, and to make sure that, as I mentioned, to create the environment that if the geology works, everything else has to be in place to make it work. So we have seen projects where we unlocked all barriers out there, and from a fast-track standpoint, you are moving the project somewhere, taking 6 to 8 years to come in production to help us on a fast-track standpoint to be maybe 36 months or less bringing production. Now, if you move to frontier basin, it's a different story altogether. But again, it's all about understanding the business and all about making sure that the above ground risks are taken care of. I'll give you another example. The licensing round that it was taking us 18 months or 2 years to complete, we are now doing it in less than 6 months. And we are currently working on a plan for 2026, 2030, just as it's about to finish. And we brought some innovations and ideas that we did not create. We're just replicating and listening to the world out there. And the idea is to have that 6 months down to about 3 months.
I was actually trying to get an answer. I was hoping it would be a long answer because it follows what I wanted to ask next. But from exploration to actual production can take, generally can take a long time. It could take 10 years, and then a production license, that could be sort of like a 20-year thing. So to your point that you mentioned earlier, this is a long game, and relationships are critical. So, Maggie, in terms of investor relationships, how do you build those relationships with your investors? How do you make sure they have the confidence to invest now and then in 10, 15 years, things are not going to change? It's going to be a stable place to move forward.
I think for us, it starts right from the leadership. We are lucky enough to have a very strong and visionary female president, Dr. Nandi Ndaitwah, who is leading the team right from the front, with a change that has been made of moving the oil and gas into the office of the presidency marks then sanctioned the intent of the whole government in terms of how important this industry is to the country. With the leadership also, we have the upstream petroleum unit that is established within the office of the president, being led also by another strong female cadre, Ms. Cornelia Shilunga, who has been in the industry as a deputy minister for mines and energy for the longest of time and is the one now leading. So with her in the helm and the president's vision of getting the country from being an exploration country to a first production, looking at the project that we have, it has been easy for us as the team members to be able to follow into the directive and the steers of how to make sure that these relationships are important. The investors, when they come into Namibia, they, as I said before, they form part of the ecosystem of Namibia. They are the key ingredients that we need in order for us to then make sure that the resource that we have in the subsurface comes out and form tangible results and resources and revenues that the Namibian people will need for us to have those changes in our livelihood. For these resources in the ground to be impactful to the Namibian people, you need the capital to flow into the country. You need those companies that are bringing in the capital to be able to have a guaranteed return on their investment. And you need also, as government, to have a skin in the game so that you share into those risks and you share in the joy, you share in the pain, and everything can work together. So we work in such a manner that we don't take a police approach where we are just a regulator and we are standing back. We really participate with them in the project. The knowledge that the country holds in terms of the geology and the data and how to be able to take the regional perspective aspect of exploration and zone it down into their block. That knowledge is kept in-house, it's kept in-country. And that's the importance of having NAMCO as a partner in all the licenses. The ability of the ministry and the UPU as a regulator to be able to work with the companies in terms of the timelines when they are required in order to also work with them in making sure that we translate the law into what is intended for them to be able to achieve those work programs and those targets as they've set them, is what makes it works in Namibia. And it has been like that and it continues to be like that until we move from the exploration to achieving the FID, which is our target, and moving into first oil very, very soon.
So I want to shift a little bit across to the domestic market. And you mentioned earlier that the reason that we explore is for discoveries and obviously for that to benefit the people of a country. And Alcides, in terms of, for instance, an example is that Angola LNG, maintaining production is critical. But how do you balance that revenue received from producing and selling LNG with the need to push gas into the domestic market?
Well, good question, Justin. And you touched on the LNG. The LNG project that was initiated sometime in 2007 and finished in 2012. Initial production and then ramping up from 2014 onwards, came in life more to address an environmental issue. So the initial concept was to maximize the use of the associated gas that was coming out of the oil production. And the idea was to, well, there were a lot of investments done in the pipelines, gas gathering project, to bring that, to collect that gas and deliver that gas to LNG, and from then on to bring revenue stream, not only for the investors but for the country itself. In recent times, we have also taken an approach on, through the reforms, to create mechanisms for investors to be able to explore, develop, produce, and monetize the gas. And I was actually having a meeting with an investor today that was in Angola back in 2009, drilled a well, found gas, and couldn't do anything with it because we didn't have a legal regulatory framework to manage that process. So now we have, and hopefully the gentleman, he's in the room, so come back. We now have the mechanism to make that happen. But in recent times, through that reform, we have been able to unlock some gas projects. And our major first non-associated gas actually started producing last week, and it's going to bring another 400 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to the LNG plant. Now, if you look at the gas business, a little bit different from the oil, you have to have a market in order to promote the gas production. But the way most of the gas business work is you go through the process of LNG, gas to power, and then domestic use. We believe we have gone through the process of LNG, there's experience there, and with the gas that the potential of gas that we have now, perhaps we will increase that capacity in the LNG as well. The other piece of it, from a gas to power standpoint, most of our power comes from hydro, about 65 to 70%. So that is not a big challenge for us, although we also, part of the gas that utilization will be to increase that, or to have more gas in the matrix of the power generation process. But from a domestic, we believe we are already getting to the domestic side. We have a project that is due to be complete sometime next year that will be producing ammonia, urea, fertilizers, utilizing gas. So the idea here is moving across this gas business through stages and utilize the revenue to create a market and gas, domestic gas utilization, and diversifying. It's going to be part of the matrix to diversify the economy of the country.
Thank you, Alcides. And we're running a little low on time over here, so in the interest of moving along, I wanted to jump into opportunities for large and small players. And actually, I mean, we have Brian over there, who's Recon Africa. They got assets in Namibia and assets in Angola. And tell us what enables a player to, what opportunities are there for a player of varying sizes to come into a place like Angola?
Well, we believe we have opportunities for different type of company. And it's all about understanding the risk profile of the opportunity that we have and the profile of the size of the companies, and not to have a one-fit-all approach. So we have, again, going back to my comment, asking the questions to the investor on what they need, we've been able to do that differentiation and find solutions that would fit the needs for different investors. And in that space, if you go back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you would see we had a handful of companies, maybe about 20 companies in the country. And 7 years on, we are in the north of 50. One other thing is the number of blocks or concessions active. Close to about 20 plus back in 7 years ago. Now we are in the north of 60 new active concessions, but we have awarded more than 70 new blocks to different companies' profile. And we're talking about onshore, shallow water, and deep water blocks for all those different type of concessions. The other thing that we have also done was to think about the risk profile on risk and align that with risk exposure. We used to be very much focused on bonuses and also imposing certain requirements in the company to drill wells, even when it didn't make sense. So we have gone back and looked at and changed that approach to do phases in which the investors have the ability to make decisions. The other thing that we did very recently in the last couple of years with some of the investors here was to go through an MOU process, as opposed to getting into a contract to an agreement where they could do studies and then make a decision on whether, when they were comfortable, on whether we would do a contract or not. So a lot of things that we learned in terms of maybe innovations, collaboration with all the different companies, but I think the best thing for us is about learning, is about listening to our partners, to our investors out there.
Maggie, I want to jump across to you over here. I mean, Namibia is the exploration hotspot. So I'm imagining everyone's knocking on your door all the time to come in. But at some point in the future, some other place will pop out. What do you do to keep exploration going? What do you do to keep bringing guys in?
For us, I think, as I've heard in the whole Sarah week, this whole week, is that the game is about diversification. And as I said, with the current disruptions in the market that keeps happening more often than before, if you don't have Namibia as one of your geographical region, it's about time that you add that to it. Simply because of where, not only because of where we are located, but also because of what the country has to offer. Of course, capital is very, very, very fluid, and it goes depending on the weather, depending on what's happening, it flows wherever it is. But there are certain elements that need to happen for it to stay where it must stay. In Namibia, we have learned through the longest period of time that contract sanctity, stability of the contract, and predictability of what you are offering as a nation matters. And that is what creates the long-term hype. We also learned that it's very important for, as a country, to have very strong institution, and for the country to be run through the rule of law that is being upheld and respected by all, not only by the host, not only by the visitors and the investors as they're coming, but also by the citizens themselves. It's very, very important. Then in order also for capital to remain in the country, it's very important for us as a host nation to keep improving ourselves. As I said, the subsurface, the rocks are what they are, but they will speak back to you depending on what language you are speaking to them. And for us, we have in many times also understood that when the capital is few in the market, especially when the time where exploration dollars were being very, very scarce, it has served us to think outside the box. And this has then come back to the element that we have spoken about of relationships. We had to forge relationship with service providers. We had to collaborate with service companies also so that we can be able to think out of the box and create abilities to acquire seismic and add value to that data in terms of interpretation through multi-client approach. And that way you are de-risking or sharing the risk of the capital that is required, and you can also be able to give it to many people. And with that, we have then been able to have companies have access to this information at all times. And sometimes all it takes is for one to have an eye and see exactly what is there. But what also keeps Namibia interesting is the vast wideness of opportunity. We are the game changer, and that potential still remains there, even though we have already unlocked ourselves with what we are seeing in the Orange Basin, with the Venus and the others that are following. The opportunities for anybody to be able to still unlock the Luderets, the Walvis, the Namibian, the onshore basin, Vambo and Namba are still there. That's why.
Thank you so much, Maggie and Alcides. And maybe I can just wrap up with a couple of points that I've kind of taken away from that. Stability, don't move the goalpost. Relationships, takes a long time to build a relationship and it's quick to break one. The continent has a plethora of opportunities, lots of opportunities, deep water, onshore, shelf. If you don't have a position in the second largest continent on Earth, do you really have a diversified portfolio? So, thank you so much.
Thank you.